Live now. Hopefully that all switches on. Alright, welcome back guys to episode 4 of On the Hook. So today we've got our usual suspects. We've got Betanurse Cptsalty, Nio, Rosie, SkinnyQuinny, and we have a special guest today. He doesn't need much of an introduction. I'm sure everyone's going to know who he is in the Dead by Daylight community, and it is Scott Jund. So how are you doing, Scott?
I'm doing just great. How you doing, man?
Yeah, good, thanks. Thank you very much for giving up your time and coming on. So really happy to have you on, and just to get an idea on some of your thoughts. Now, I know we messaged during the week and it was a case of trying to find out what we were going to discuss, and I think some of the stuff we'll discuss will probably be a bit repeated on what we've said before, but I think the angle we're going down really, I know you've only just woke up, Scott, so you might probably be doing a lot of talking today, because I think we all probably just want to...
It's alright, man. It's all good.
We all just want to get an idea of your thoughts on things, how things are, just to clarify some of the things that you've made. Now, obviously, you do make a lot of discussion videos, so we've probably all watched them, I'm imagining, and spoke about them previously in podcasts, so it's just great to have you on, just to clarify some of the things that we might agree on, some of the things that we might disagree on, and just to have a general discussion about it. So I hope that's okay with yourself.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm looking forward to some debate.
Oh, great. So I think the first thing, we were going to talk about 50 win streaks, we're going to talk about MMR, but Cptsalty raised a good question, and we thought, actually, because it's something we haven't discussed before, it's not taking you by surprise or anything for any of the people on here, but Cptsalty asked the question of, what do you class as skill in the game? What would you class as skill? So we'll start off with you, Scott, if that's okay.
Okay, we're talking about killer or survivor?
Cptsalty, I think we were talking about killer, weren't we?
Yep. Like at both sides, basically.
Both sides.
Both sides. All right, so for killer, I think a lot of it is, when people talk about, like, sick moves in a chase, like, they always go like, oh, a moonwalk. I think, like, yeah, that stuff is cool, but that's actually really not that hard to learn. There are, like, preset points that you would do that at each tile. So while that is something you can learn, and you can even, like, reverse those things and sometimes do nothing at all, is like the biggest mind game where you just stand still. That's cool and all, but I think what makes a very good killer is the ability to make strategic macro decisions on the fly. So you're not just, in the single chase, you're not just paying attention to that person. You're, while you're chasing that person, you're still looking in the distance, looking for scratches and crows to get, constant information of where everyone is, have a good idea of where gens are being worked on, and just have a general idea of how far progressed the game is. Can you afford to just hook this person here? Do you have to slug them now? Knowing when to slug is a huge thing that makes a killer good. I think it's more like those macro strategy decisions than just the individual chase mechanics.
Yeah, fair enough. Any questions on that, guys? Anyone agree or disagree, or have their own thoughts on this?
I pretty much mostly agree with that. It's just, to me, when it just comes to skills skills on the killer side of thing, it just seems to understanding and, knowledge of the game to be able to make the right decisions at the right moment. And, okay, I'm really bad at talking right now because I'm tired AF. And, just being able to make the decisions on the fly and understand, hey, I've been chasing this person for a while. These guys over here are probably on this gen and it's about to pop, and I just got gen rushed.
That's a really good point too. Knowing when to continue a chase or abandon a chase is a huge thing.
No, that's what I was about to say. You have to immediately identify who's good. That's one of the things I hone in on. You have to identify who's good within seconds, like within one split macro second play. If somebody vaults a window or something, depending on their positioning, and they get a clean fastball at a hard angle, they're good. Depending on who you are, they could be pretty much undownable. And as soon as you identify when someone's undownable, you got to just break away. There's nothing you can do.
I agree. I think identifying the weak link in a team is equally important as well, because there almost always is one, and that's really all you need to beat even kind of a pretty good team. Because if you hook a weak link in a bad area, it doesn't matter how good people are. If you catch them in a bad area that you've made, then it kind of negates their skill. So that's really important.
Yeah, Captain Salty, any thoughts on the matter?
I also agree on everything that was said, and I want to add something like knowing that in Mother's Dwelling, if you keep the middle generator as a killer, you have a pretty good free gen, and you make this map not as horrible as it is. You know, knowing that survivors have to break this generator to take away your free gen, your kind of pseudo free gen, is huge. And if you don't know as a killer, you lose that. If you lose this gen, you lose the game basically, because the map is then you have to play this whole big map just because you made like one mistake by not trying to keep that main building generator as long as possible.
Yeah. I think knowing which generators that are basically just there are certain generators like that you have to leave towards the end, and there are certain generators that you just can't. Like like the gen in Cowshed, you just sort of have to assume that one is just like a free one. You can't even like try to defend it. So there are certain gens that I think you have to just accept that you can't even waste time defending, as dumb as that is. But that's just the case a lot of the time.
Yeah.
I usually just call those dead gens, pretty much.
Yeah.
Just gens that are far off near absolutely nothing that you can maybe patrol once if you haven't had your first chase, but overall you just kind of leave it.
Do you think, guys, this skill comes from the amount of hours you're playing? So, example I used was, so for instance, I hear everything that everyone said there, and it's all valid points, of course, but like, if I use driving a car as an example, when I first started driving a car, I was like, lamppost, road, pedestrians, just constantly think, and then it sort of comes naturally. Do you think that comes with the hours you put into the game?
To an extent.
I would say so. I mean, it's not like, just because you have, it's not a direct, linear graph. You have this many hours, you have this many skill. It's it's not like that. I think it's very important that you try to absorb knowledge from other people too, because I don't think you can fully teach everything like yourself. That's why it's important to be like humble and, watch other people or just learn from other friends to play the game and, just have some kind of trick you might not know about. But yeah, it's not necessarily a direct line, but, I would say it is definitely related. It's stuff you just pick up naturally over time.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Mm-hmm. Anything else from anybody on that subject? Captain Salty, you happy with the answer on that? I know you were quite keen to bring that up.
I want to add something. It's like knowing how to progress a game towards your winning condition. Like seriously, like if you see people are efficient on gens, you basically stop chasing people and just protect the gens, because there's no reason to have chasing people that are not working on gens, because there are people that are working on gens that are way too dangerous for you to ignore them. So injuring them and then later catching them off guard when they are injured and in the weaker position, you can even get a strong looper by making him by injuring him and later catching him in a weaker position. That's how I win my games. Like I have a strong looper that is teabagging, clicky, and wants me to chase him. I ignore this guy, maybe give him a clap and he's injured, and then I let him go, And then later when he has to do the objective, I can catch him off guard and like end the chase in half of the time if I that I would have used of actually chasing that guy a strong loop. And that's how I beat people that try to be as good at looper, because I know how to play chess as a killer and play my game plan to ultimately get my win condition straight.
Yeah, I agree. That's like the main way you would actually beat, if you're not like, an extremely strong killer, the best way you beat a good survivor is remove all of the tools they have to try to use their skill on you. If there's no pallets in the area because you've created a dead zone over the course of the match and then you lead them back into it, that's you, that's you playing well. So
yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's
nothing
fair
to argue with that.
No, I think it's pretty straightforward. It was just something that was brought up, and it was like, I mean, I'll give an example. For me, I haven't got as many hours as the other content creators, and I've got to actively look out for crows. But I think it was Autofa. I watched one of his videos the other day, and he does a review video of people. I mean, they're great to watch, by the way, because you can learn so much off them. And he spotted things that I was like, I wouldn't have even noticed that myself. And I thought, with the hours that have gone in to the game, he's probably been around for quite a while in regards to Dead by Daylight. It's things that he's picking up naturally that you might not pick up yourself until you get to that certain skill level. But, right, we'll move on to MMR then. So I know we've discussed this quite a lot. Now, Scott, you made a video about MMR about for me personally, it was a case of I watched that video and I thought, actually, you're right in what you're saying in regards to the MMR with the fact that it would only be 2 killers. And something that I really picked up on and really stuck with is that only 2 killers are viable in the game. Is that a general consensus? Is that what you were trying to come across with that video, to say everyone's going to be playing Spirit and Nurse? It's going to be very boring.
At the highest level, yeah, there's basically only 2 or 3 killers that can win against the absolute very best, for sure.
Yeah. So, does that tell us there's a problem with the game in regards to the other killers, or is it a case of we're not going to play at the highest level very often, or what's the general thought on that?
See, I think this is an issue with the whole argument for MMR, is that we are making a giant assumption about what the developers want, because what we want is not really relevant. And while it would be nice to have it, balanced for the top level and the medium and the bottom and stuff like that, the only thing that matters is what the developers want. And I know, but forgive me if I'm wrong. I'm trying to accurately say what you guys think. I think everyone here that is for MMR, the argument is kind of like, you think it will change the statistics in such a way that it will reflect to the developers that at the highest level that, oh shit, yeah, only 2 or 3 killers are doing anything. So now we have to change things based on that, right?
That's certainly my opinion. For the rest of the people, obviously,
Yeah, that
speak
was
for yourself,
very
guys.
much
Yeah.
It's one of the good things about it.
Okay. See, I think the problem with that logic is, like, you guys are thinking that the developers are going to see these change statistics at the highest level and then make decisions based around that. But that has the assumption that they don't know that happens at the highest level. And they absolutely 100% do know. So I don't understand why you guys think it's going to change their whole philosophy on how they balance the game.
Sorry, you're saying, I sort of missed that last section, Scott. Are you saying that it's going to be diluted anyway, the stats?
The whole thing I'm trying to say is that even if the stats show, because I have no doubt that, yes, at the very highest MMR, it's going to show that most killers are not doing nearly as well as the stats currently say they are. But in the other, 99% of the games, the stats will most likely average out. And the developers have a history, and in fact have pretty much only shown during their entire course of making this game and balancing it, that they don't actually care about that highest level. They just care about basically everyone else. So even if the stats reflect the change that they already know that at the highest level, survivors are definitely stronger. They know that. They've known that for over 3.5 years now. I don't know if you guys remember Mart's whole D-Pip squad. I'm sure you guys know about that, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yep.
Yeah, so Lewis McLean, one of the developers, saw that, and he commented on it. I don't remember verbatim what he said, but the general gist, he said, there's a clip of it somewhere from his stream. He basically said, yeah, we know at that level that it's, it's very unbalanced. We're not pretending it is. We just don't care because that's not really what the games actually are. So they have known about it for 3 years, since 2018, I think that clip was from, and they have not really made any changes whatsoever. It's indicative that even if they see the stats reflect that, at the highest level, that's still true, they don't care. They're not going to change the game for that because they have no intention of doing that.
Plus, what I think they also like to do is they like the stats that generally reflect kind of what they wanted to see. Statistics are something that's really easily manipulated, and they make full use of that. And for example, with the Dowsy thing with the Twins, they'll probably throw in the statistics like, oh, Twins was played at a high MMR, blah, blah, blah. But it's going to be the higher you get with even a bad killer, it's going to rebalance it out. It's going to keep rebalancing. And what Scott did and said in one of his other videos was, they'll post their whole kill rate thing, and it's like, look, everyone is averaging 2 kills basically across the board, regardless of everything. So that is balanced, because I don't think they will generally balance around the top, because they know what the top is. They want new players. They want the middle ground of players. They don't want the top percent to be the deciding factor, just like in other like MOBAs and other games like that as well. So I think that's just how it'll be, is like, they'll just reflect the stats. Everything will look balanced, because if you do too good, you go against a really good team, you'll get back down, or maybe you get lucky, go up a little bit higher, or you're still getting knocked back down a couple games maybe, and it's just going to keep reflecting until, it's perfectly even 2-2 split, which is what they kind of consider a win in their book.
What I don't understand is, if you look at other games that have a ranking system, like League of Legends, Heroes of the Storm, Hearthstone, they all balance around the decks that are really good in the higher ranks. And because those people know how to play the game. So they base the power of a champion in League of Legends based on the best players in the game. And nothing changes for the people that are low ranks because they don't master those people yet. So it makes no sense balancing the game for new players because they don't know the game yet. It's like if you make everything super safe, like the new game map, for example, which is basically just there because survivors were crying that they have no dead zones in the game and need more pellets because, like I said, people don't know how to chain tiles yet, and they never learn it if the devs just do stupid stuff like the new game map. Like, seriously. Nothing changes if they change the game towards it being balanced around the level where it actually matters. Like, new players will still think the killer is overpowered because they still don't know the game. But if in high ranks, it would balance stuff out. If they just make this game based around people that actually know what they do. And I'm not talking about tournament squads. I'm talking about high mid MMR where people already know what they are doing. But just because of the variables this game has, it's not consistent enough. And I don't understand why they have this balancing idea of, oh, we want more new players, so we have to make this game more easy, like they did with the shadow buff to the skill checks, where they fixed the FPS drop on skill checks, which meant like gens were flying before, and now they're even more flying because they made this game so easy for people getting into this game. While we all started, we had the hell on earth to get to where we are now. And like they make it more easy for new players getting handheld in this game. And all the players that know this game for years are now like, what are we doing with that shit? Like, if you balance for those low type of players, what do we want? What do we have from that? Like, why should we have this amount of numbers hours played in this game? Like, that's what I want to think about. Like, why?
For the record, I just want to clarify. I don't think they should balance around new players either. Like, definitely not. I think it should be like some kind of weird like middle ground and like maybe like a bit above average. Like I don't think it should be balanced around like the absolute best players, which is what most people are saying, at least here. But I don't think it should be balanced around new players either. That's the problem in the complete opposite direction. So it should be kind of like a middle ground of people that know what they're doing but are not doing the absolute sweatiest shit they can possibly do every game. And it's also people that aren't completely clueless, rank 20 megs, because both of those are extremes that I don't think it should be balanced around.
Okay, we're gonna try to jump in here, bro. See, the issue with the middle is that there's still no incentive to not buff over half the roster, because the people, even the middle, like they're losing anyway. Everyone who's in the middle, they're losing anyway. It takes a certain level of coordination from the survivors, not a huge big brain type of play, but it takes a certain level of awareness to beat a killer, and we've already acknowledged that one weak link means a death. So the entire middle ground, if we balanced around good players in the top percentage, those middle players, they wouldn't change anyway. They would still keep losing and losing and losing regardless. The only games that would really be changed by core balance changes are the top ones. Like we were talking, I remember True and Otts were discussing a tile, and like there's bad survivors go down that tile in 30 seconds, and a good survivor loops it for 5 minutes. If you nerf the tile, the bad survivor's still going down in 30 seconds anyway. The good survivor just can't abuse it anymore. One thing that I want to steer the conversation away, I want to get this point on the table, is I do not believe that it takes a top 1% team to exploit balance issues in this game. I think the balance of this game is so horrendous to the point where if you have 4 solo queues with genuine good awareness, it will be a very, very challenging game. I'm not saying that it's only Nurse and Spirit can do it, because I think you do lose something when you lose Swift, but I still think that's a very, very challenging game. But we can't know. That's the hard part. But you can't know who's a Swift and who's not unless they tell you.
Yeah.
So while I agree that sorry I cut out for a little bit. My internet went out for a second. like, while I agree that generally rank for on the survivor side means nothing in terms of the symbols and stuff, on the killer side, we know, like, you know, I'm sure y'all know how the killer emblems work and how annoying it can be. I truly think if it was like as unbalanced as people say it is, that no killers would maintain red ranks. And that goes for myself included, who goes out of my way to avoid DS and to avoid tunneling and try to avoid slugging as much as possible and still maintain ranks 1 and 2 on a really shitty pip system against these like red rank teams and stuff like that. So even if like I feel like people are just downplaying their skill as a killer, and I feel like people y'all are just kind of like, some of y'all are just saying it's like, feel like the game is so out of your control. But then when we speak back to killer efficiency and stuff, I can go back and watch like Jay's recent video when he did the pig. And I mean, for the first start of it, he spent time just crouching without whispers for about 30 seconds, 40 seconds before finding someone. And just the little things that are like time efficiency against decent teams. It doesn't even have to be a good team. It's just the time management and decision making. I feel like y'all are just really putting so much, you're giving such an external locus of control and feeling like the game is so out of your hands in comparison to where it's been. I feel like we all would not be able to maintain like high rank killers and be able to play the way we do if it was truly as like insanely just unbalanced as you guys try to say sometimes.
See, I think that's just human nature though, because when we do have, because those matches do exist. Like, there are matches where, you know, you're on cowshed against a good team and you're fucking clown. There's very little you can do to apply your skill to the match. And we remember those matches way, way more than the other 40 games we just won. And that's just how human nature goes. So I completely understand that that's a common mindset, because it makes sense.
Yeah, and
But
I mean, to go on what you said there, Beta, it was interesting because I did play a game today and I was telling Cptsalty about it over the chat, and I was like, what a game. I lost because Red Forest, I lost because they were toxic, I lost because of this, because of that. And I said to you, Cptsalty, and I said, actually, let me watch the game again. And what was it? I then came up with about a list of 7 or 8 things that I was like, I didn't say that Survivor there. Oh, I didn't follow the scratch marks there. Oh, I spent too much with that Survivor. So I sort of get where you're coming from, because it is something that we do. And like you say, human nature, from my point of view, is, you know, first of all, I'll look at it and go, the emotions will go, right, it was because it was this map and this map's shocking. But yeah, I agree with what you're saying there, is that sometimes it does take into account, you're not taking into account the mistakes that you're probably making yourself in the game. Just before we ask the rest of the questions, guys, Reapertech, so you've put on, if streamers only play Nurse and Spirit at the highest level, then maybe devs will finally want to buff killers, because only 2 of them are played. Do you think, Scott, I mean, obviously you've been around probably for the longest in regards to this game, do you think that's something, you've probably touched upon it already, and is that something that they're going to care about or not?
No, I think if they see that at the very highest level that, you know, only 2 or 3 killers are doing okay, they're not going to care, because that's not reflective of the majority of their consumer and money base, so they have no business reason to do that.
They'll probably nerf them.
I mean, they're a business at the end of the day. They want to do whatever is getting them the most money. And for some reason, whatever they're doing is consistently working. I can't figure it out either, but it is working. So they have no incentive to really change their whole philosophy on balance.
Yeah, like look at Freddy, for example. Like, Freddy is a killer that punishes mistakes of survivors even more than any other killer, because he can teleport to a gen. So if you don't focus on a gen, this gen is gone, you know? Like, he can regress it. He has thrilling tremors and pop goes the weasel combo, which is unbelievably strong, you know? But it only works if survivors don't fucking stick to the generators. Or the passive slowdown. Like, it just punishes survivor mistakes, but against good teams, he gets clapped. And that's something like they have to take in mind. If survivors would actually put time in this game and learn how to be good, no killer, but Nurse and Spirit, because they ignore tiles, we be viable in this game. And even if like mid-ranked people understand loops and tiles and know how to run a killer, that's already bad enough, because survivors don't do it. And if just think, like, after this podcast, survivor begin to fucking learn how to play this game and just go into kill your friends and then loop House of Pain the whole time, and you have a survivor with 700 hours that can loop perfectly House of Pain. Like, can you beat that guy with 7k hours as a killer? No way, because the structure is broken. But because those structure exists, And what good people can do with that, that's the balancing issue. Like, people that don't know how to use that structure will get down there. Like, I had so many games where people went into House of Pain and dropped the God Pellet instantly. Where, like, yeah, nice, you basically fucked up the best loop in this whole map. But, like, just because they didn't know better. But I had also had people that were looping me there for, like, multiple gens, and was like, yeah, man, like, if every survivor goes to that loop and knows how to play this loop, that's GG. You know, I have to catch them when they are sitting on a gen, which is what I said before with the skill, is like identifying strong loops and not going after those people that use those strong loops.
So I think we can all universally agree that there are certain structures in this game that are just stupid, House of Pain being a prime example. And I don't think anyone is going to argue that those have needed changes since they were created. So I'll just set that straight, that we definitely agree on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reaper again, so he's put on, what I'm getting is I shouldn't have hope for this game that it'll get any better. I'm okay not having hope for this game. I'm already quick because of the annoyance and frustration, so just give me an insight on that. So it's actually an interesting question, so I'll put it out there to all you guys. Are things going to get better?
No.
So I'm going to use a very fallible argument and say that it's better than it has been, which I know is not a justification, because, like, you know, if someone shoots you in the head and the next time they shoot you in the foot, you can say, you know, at least it ain't the head. But, like, at the same time, all there is, like, that feeling of disconnection with the devs to the community, like, they were on the right track. Let's give them credit for being on the right track until the breakable walls fiasco started happening.
God.
I don't know who did that or designed that, or I just, that was where I started losing faith in some of it, because it's like they just did all this hype for the, like, we reworked these infinites, we put these walls here, Killer Shack will be breakable, and it's like, now we don't have a breakable Killer Shack. Every map just has, like, new infinites. Haddonfield's gonna have breakable bushes. It's gonna be really, it just feels like it's the steps are just, like, all over the place. I don't know. I mean, I think it's better in a sense. Like, I don't know. It's a rough thing. It depends on what you call better, I guess.
It's so hard to predict, because, like, every once in a while, like, you know, out of nowhere, they just bust out, like, you know, the Wraith change, and like, you know, we've been asking for that, but hey, they did it. That was a great change. But then, you know, then Trickster exists. Like, it's so much give and take that it is so hard to predict whether or not the overall game will get better. The trajectory, you know, from the game's release has been improvements. You know, if you've ever played the release version of this game, it was the dumbest shit imaginable. But I think, yes, it will keep improving, but the rate is so slow that it's like you don't notice a planet spinning, even though that it is doing that thing, but it's just so imperceptible because of how slow they are with all the changes.
The game is never going to
is a
get
good
better
example.
if they keep making money. The game will never get any better as long as the business model is working, which is something that Scott already commented on. You gotta hit them in the finances, bro. That's the only like way the game is gonna get any changes. They changed. The best changes have come when the game almost died. Like when they nerfed DS because it was killing the game, or when they changed Legion because he was killing the game. The changes only come when there's scrutiny on them, and it's a very self-centered look at the game. It really does suck. And I really wish that somebody else owned the game, in all honesty, because this is their moneymaker. This is the only game that they have that matters. And trust me, I've played some of their other games. I've made a little series about it. The only game that actually matters is this one. So as long as they're going to keep making money, they will never change or fix. They won't fix anything.
I've always said that the best thing for DBD's health would be a good competitor.
Yeah.
Because then they would finally have incentive.
Yeah,
It's so hard to do.
It is. I mean,
It's just asymmetricals in general are hard.
I looked at Home Sweet Home. I think I came out on Friday, and I looked, and I was like, I just read the reviews. I mean, it was £5, you know, probably about $6-7, and I was just like, is it worth it? But I just read the reviews, and they were like, the queue times are horrendous. This, and this, and I was like, I think I'll wait, but. I think we touched upon it last week, or was it a week before? I asked the question, is it a successful game? I think it is, and it's sad that people are switching off, because I haven't got to that stage where I said it last week, I've actually really been enjoying the games. Yeah, there's been some games that have been a right pain in the ass, and I've been banging on my desk or throwing my mouse at something, but generally, I always come back, and it just does have that pull because there is nothing else like it. For me personally, I've got high hopes for Evil Dead when that comes out. I think that might be interesting, but at the minute, something is working with the game that keeps people coming back. Now, I'll put you on the spot a bit, Rosie, but you were playing it last night, albeit you were drunk, but you still loaded up the game and streamed it.
Well, I did it. I made it clear.
Even while drinking, he was regretting it. He was regretting it the whole time.
I only did it because I had a drink in my hand, bro.
Yeah.
Dude, you should see me mind game drunk. I moonwalk like the biggest SOB that the world has ever seen. Let me tell you something.
No level of bevs can improve this game. You could be completely blackout drunk and this game would still be a slog.
But the thing is, I was winning. Like, I only lost one time. The matchmaking is just that broken. Like, the only game I lost is the one that I had 3 rank 1s and I was Death Slayer. That's the I beat a joke Swift with Legion drunk. It was like it's like. The cognition required at rank 1 is there's a big difference between rank 1 and high MMR. I swear, bro. Like you say it's hard to rank up. I didn't really get to throw my hat in the ring on this one. Bro, I got to red rank drunk last night. It's not that difficult. It will be difficult if the matchmaking system works. I'm not saying sweat competitive fest tomorrow. Is it too much to ask for a matchmaking system that doesn't put me with a rank 17 player when I'm at red rank? Like, that's how you know the system is truly broken and needs a fix of some sort. Because it's frustrating to me to beat that guy. It's as frustrating for me to beat him. Granted, it wasn't frustrating to do it while I was wasted off my ass, but it's frustrating the next day when I think about it. If that makes any sense.
What do you?
If you're not too drunk to remember to forget it.
What do you think about the matchmaking, Scott?
I mean, obviously that situation that was brought up where you're rank 1, you're going against rank 17s. That should obviously never happen. That is just dumb. Even if it's Survive with Friends and they bring their friend in, it should still kind of be based on like the highest level. So that situation should pretty much never happen. I don't think anyone would argue with that. I think, though, overall, like, I think the current system is kind of close to being okay. They just need to actually, like, refine the actual emblem system to make, any fucking sense and not, punish certain killers and benefit other killers and things like that. It needs to be more universal. And I honestly think that the current system would be okay if there were maybe, like, a few more ranks or something like that and less rank resets. But then again, then you'd have the same issue of it's just simply who plays the most. So I don't know. People have tried, and it's so hard to do it in this type of game. It's so hard.
Let me run an idea by you real fast. I've thought of this for like 6 months. I haven't really done anything with this idea. I've always had this idea for something called rank 0, where you would if you hit rank 0, you could obviously emblem up on it 5 times, and then when rank reset would happen, if you hit rank 0, you would reset to 1 instead of going all the way back down to purple. It would keep those kinds of players together more frequently instead of everybody having to reset. So the rank 4 that hit rank 4 on the 12th before the night of reset isn't playing the people that have hit rank 1 within 1 day and are consistently playing the game. I don't know. That's just...
I mean, I don't think it would hurt. I just don't think there's that much of a difference between, a rank 3 and a rank 5. Like, they're purple and red, but it's really not that much of a difference. But, I mean, I don't think it would hurt, so I see no reason not to, but I don't think it'd really improve anything either.
I don't really see it really changing too much, even if you did add that. It may be a little bit nice on rank reset. It might be a little bit nice, but it won't take long for it to go back to how it was. It would take a day or so, and it might make rank reset a little bit better. But after that, that's it.
Well, all right, let me ask you guys something. Overall, people that are for MMR, do you think that the developers will change? Do you have faith in the devs to change their whole philosophy on how they balance the game and then suddenly start bouncing around the top 1%?
Nope, not for MMR though.
I'm not sure, but again, it's difficult for me because I'm coming in from a different perspective because I've only been playing the game for about 2.5 years, nearly 3 years, say 2.5 years. So, for me, all I've seen from that time is them releasing stats, them telling us which killers kill the most, which killers are played, things like that. You know, we've seen Almo on YouTube and things like that on his Twitch when he's talking about things, and it's all geared around the stats. So I'm probably looking at it from like quite a new perspective that I haven't seen any of the old things that have happened. So I sort of think, right, well, if that's what we're getting all the time, we're getting stats this, stats that, stats this, then will they do something about it? But I don't know about the rest of the guys. What do you think, guys?
It would be hypocritical for them not to, because of all the stats they've been throwing down our throats. Will they do it? I don't know. It all depends what Alma wants to do, bro. I think he's the guy who floors these things, right? Well,
Elmo.
If I can put, this might just be me and my arrogance, but if I can find a logic flaw in the devs, I'm a-okay. As long as I can feel that personal satisfaction of they should be doing this, I'm okay with no matter what they do.
Yeah.
Well, you brought up and you said that it would be hypocritical of them to not make changes, but I don't think it would, because it would not be hypocritical because they would just be sticking with their same philosophy, because they would just ignore basically the high rank or the high MMR stats basically as they always have. That's actually very consistent with how they've balanced the game.
I mean,
so I don't think
when they put out red rank statistics, if they convert over to MMR, the equivalent to red rank stats would be showing the high MMR stats if they truly convert over, and those high MMR stats are not going to look very good.
Yeah,
The
I just
problem
think
is
that's
the
only
ranking
going to be.
system won't work.
I think that's
Keep
going to
going.
be a much smaller percent because, like you said, getting ranked or red ranks is really not much, but getting to the very top MMR is significantly harder. So the percentage of that is going to be a lot smaller, which means they'll care even less about it.
Very true.
Repeat that. Hold on. I'm trying. My hungoverness is taking over.
So basically, the red rank stats that you were talking about, the higher MMR is going to be an even smaller percentage of that, which means they will care even less about it because there'll be less people. Because it's, like you said, it's easy to get to red ranks.
What my problem is that we're all talking about the highest MMR, but what's with like above average MMR? If survivors get matched with people that are on the same skill level, those games will always also be harder because like if people know how to use loops or they get spawned on something like Tom and Creek, which will far too many pellet spawns, that's also something that the killer has to deal with. So skill doesn't matter in this moment because it's still, if you have a clown, you have to go through the pellet. If you are a nurse, you just blink through the fucking loop, It's still something. And then it's just like based on people that know the game. And you could have like 3 good solo players that know how to loop on green ranks because they trained looping a lot of. And then it's still the problem is still in the game because the tiles are broken. It's like it's not just it's just more visible visible in the higher ranks. But it doesn't mean that green ranks or like right now we would be at above average or intermediate MMR levels are not suffering from that shit. It's like they have to deal with that issue that why only Nurse and Spirit are viable because they ignore all the tiles.
And they're not going to have to worry about that because the Nurse and Spirits are going to be higher than their MMR.
Well, I still think that the top 1% is not where the balance. That's not only where the balance issue lies. Like you say, it's going to be a smaller number. I just think we should throw it in and test it. If it's really just the top 1%, I think it's going to be higher though, because I think you're going to see, what you're going to see is this. The certain killers are not going to be able to pass a certain point, no matter what they do.
Oh.
You'll never see a clown get above a certain MMR. You just will not see it, and you're going to see, though those MMRs will vary depending on the killer, but is it really top one? What I feel the disagreement is I don't feel like it takes a top 1% team to exploit the many issues in the game, as I believe I've said that before. it doesn't take that. It just takes simple coordination. Once that matchmaking gets improved, I feel like simple coordination is going to get seen a lot more, and then all of a sudden it's going to be a lot harder at the top. 20%, 25%, 30%. At what percentage is it a problem if the MMR system exposes how bad the balance is?
I think on the flip side. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Sorry.
No,
I know
you
you
go.
I've been talking a lot before it.
I like listening to your
I'm
voice.
drinking my water. Shut up.
Okay. Damn it. But to be honest, I think they already know that. Like, I don't think they just sat and ignore like even though we like make fun of Attorney DBD, myself included, even though I'm a part of Attorney team, haha. Like I'm sure we all watch Texie's Attorney, and we know they know that we know that the nurse and the spirit are the top. People have been screaming for spirit nurse all the time. Like, I don't think it needs to reflect that for us to know. I feel like it just comes down to what Scott said. Like, they know, but are they going to make the change? Probably not. Will they revert the system? Probably. And we'll just go back and forth and jump down a rabbit hole. And then we'll get like a reindeer Dwight cosmetic to just throw everybody off in between. And you know what he said. Everybody will be happy, man.
We've been asking for years.
If they bring out
All
a
this
reindeer
is-
Dwight cosmetic, it'll be my day complete.
I think all these arguments boil. All these arguments that we have are almost meaningless because we don't have any input on the matter. They have the stats. They've already known about these stats based on clips I've seen from years ago. They already know this stuff and they haven't made changes. So I don't see any reason they will. Therefore, I have no hope in the current system elucidating that because why would they change? There's no reason.
That's a good point. I'm gonna.
I have something to add on that.
Go on then, Captain Salty.
Let's say you adapt to just high level of play. Let's say the killers realize that they can't just go for chases the whole time because chases don't benefit them, and they slowly but surely adapt to having to sweat every game, and they have no problem with that because I know of certain streamers that would welcome this MMR system because he wants consistent matches. Because he wants to adapt to that, like Hexy, for example. He said it on stream. He would like to have MMR because he can prepare for what he's facing. He can adapt to the situation. He gets challenged by teams, and he can adapt his playstyle towards what he's facing. Something like what I said to one of, I don't know if it's Jay, but I said it like a good spirit. A good counter to Spirit is playing overly safe. You don't give a Spirit a chase because Spirit is broken in chases. So if you play against a high rank Spirit and you have survivors that are high MMR, that means they know how to play against Spirit. It has nothing to do with you can loop tiles, you just know how to counter this killer. And this is the issue, because if we look at the common sense of playing this game as a killer as just basically a glorified playing catch game, it's not that. On high MMR, on an understanding of the game, this game is more of a chess than anything else. It's not a catch. It's not a catch or hide and seek. It's more of a chess game, like both sides doing decisions, and this decision lead to them ultimately winning. And I think if MMR would be top, people would understand that those balancing issues, you can ignore them by playing differently and adapting to it. But like it would basically put out all those small fishes and only leave the big fishes in the pool. So people that call themselves high MMR killers would die and be frustrated and quit the game because they realize that are not good enough, that they can't adapt, that they don't want to adapt, and something like that. And that's maybe a good thing, but I don't know.
Then people just do what they would have done, and that's just D-rank. Because if you're a higher killer, you're waiting 30 minutes, you have no incentive to not just tank like 4 or 5 matches just so you can play games and create content or stream. Like, do you really want to be like up there in MMR streaming and in between games, people that are watching you? It's like you gotta like make a sandwich on camera or something, or do like magic tricks. Like,
that's a whole
some
separate
point-
issue. I didn't want to like bring up streamers and stuff because I feel like it's like egotistical to like.
I feel like
talk
we
about
all
that stuff,
stream
but-
though. I feel like it's fair enough to say though, because we do all stream. So like that's why I was like didn't really like Rosie's whole thing about just talking
Oh,
about
is that true?
content
Everyone here
creators.
Yeah.
I think so.
No.
Because except for Captain
Well, see, there we
yeah.
go. Now we're being an asshole.
I'm just hating on people. I'm just hating on streamer. I'm not streaming myself.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, that was my thing with me when it came to. I personally didn't stream when the MMR came out for a bit, but what was the first thing I did was when I got on MMR was okay, of course I'm just going to equip my go-to killer. So straight away, instantly went to Legion, and to put it simply, I think I waited for more than half an hour to an hour in time just for a Legion game to get cancelled on me.
Yeah, I think that is going to be a problem.
Yeah, and like it was mentioned before that I was going to say, but it was just brought up, was why wouldn't I, if I want to actually be able to play the game and I want to play the killers that actually I find fun, I find Legion fun, I want to play Legion, why wouldn't I, what's stopping me from just throwing 2 or 3 games just so I can actually get, I don't know, finally I can have 3-minute queues again.
You actually brought up a good point that I wanted to talk about as well, which is I'm sorry I interrupted you if you have something to finish.
Oh, go on.
I just wanted to say that the MMR system heavily punishes people that main a killer, even if you don't stream or anything like that. If you just, you're just a Huntress main, you like playing Huntress, likely your MMR is a lot higher than everybody else's just due to the fact that you simply play that killer a lot more. So your games are now going to suffer because that's all you play. Your queue times will be a lot longer. And another thing that also, one of the reasons I find this to be like such a negative effect, especially on the higher end players, is that if you have people that have MMR that it is so high that it takes them 30 minutes to find a game, A, they're just probably going to quit because that's ridiculous. And B, if they don't have that and they make it so the system, like they said, after 10 minutes or whatever, kind of expands to reach, lower and lower until they find an actual match, then all we currently have there is the current system, which, matches you with random players that are possibly worse or better or anything like that, except now you have to wait 10 minutes too. So all it does is just make things worse for like the higher end.
Yeah.
See, that's exactly what my point was, that like I don't want to have MMR because I don't want to feel punished just for enjoying playing a killer, because like I don't remotely play this competitively. I just play it for casual fun. I play a couple killers that I enjoy and happen to be good with some of them. I don't feel like just because I'm good with a couple of them I should be punished with harder games, because I'm not about that.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, and that's what we were saying. Like, I don't want to get, even I don't want to get punished for that. For anyone who knows me, I purely pretty much play Legion and Pig because those are the killers that I found fun and they're the killers that I enjoyed. And suddenly I'm going to be waiting half an hour just to play it. I'd rather what we have now than an NMR system, just so I can actually play games and actually enjoy myself on the killers I have.
Yeah, I'd rather play a kind of unbalanced match than not play the game at all.
Yeah, same.
And just going on the side of being toxic as well, I have stuff to say about the toxic side at one point.
Yeah, no problem. We'll come to that. We've just got a question from Reaper Tech, and it was directly to you, Scott, and he's saying, what do you think the game needs, and how would you balance and fix it? Nice and simple.
I don't fucking know, man. Professional game designers for years have failed at figuring this out. Yeah. Like, I don't know. That's a great question, man. Asymmetrical is hard.
Yeah, it's just like being someone who's... It's funny because I was watching your video, Scott, just before on Evolve, because I was someone who played Evolve before it completely died, and I've always been that type of person to jump at asymmetrical games, and honestly, has not been a single asymmetrical game that's actually balanced.
Rosie, I know you want to bring up Identity V, so could you enlighten more on that?
Well, we'll deal with that in a second. I think I want to actually reiterate Reaper Tech's question. The last time we were talking, I say talking because we like to throw shade at each other, which is fine. You and me are friends, Scott. I consider us friends. I know you don't. But listen, when we were talking, I had a big essay, probably 4 or 5 pages long. I probably would have gotten an A on it, about how I had a proposal, if you will, about how to fix the game. It was a multi-step thing. I don't know if you this is a while ago. Basically, it was... I'll see if I can summarize it to the best of my ability and do it fast. It was the game overall right now. The main problem is that the core killer isn't viable. So every change that we need to make is so a 115 killer with a power can be viable. So you get rid of map RNG first, negate all that, and then after map RNG is gone, and then you have a medium of the pallets, not too big, not too small. Then you take Bloodlust out, so every chase is consistent and the same. And then after that happens, you'll see Nurse and Spirit sticking out at high MMR. You then nerf them, so you force everybody back on the core killer, 115, 110, just stuff like that. And then you select what I've called keystone characters. I don't know if anyone does biology, but in biology, there's things called keystone species. If the keystone species are in trouble, it means the game isn't healthy. So you take your keystone character, which is a mid tier. It's not a bottom tier and it's not a top tier. It's the character that's flat in the middle. Let's just say Ghostface. So you look at Ghostface and you make sure Ghostface is viable because he's your keystone character. You make sure he's averaging 2 kills at the highest or high level, whatever we want to say. You make sure Ghostface is doing well, and then as soon as Ghostface is doing well, then you fluctuate killers on an individual basis from there. That's a summary of what I said, and that's kind of where we left off. So we can pick that up now.
Even with that, what do you define as doing well? Is it 2 kills? Because now we're starting to get on the what is a win debate.
A win, yeah.
Not only that, but what you just said was make Haddonfield, Mother's Dwelling, Midwich Elementary the same functional structural map with the exact same amount of time wasting structures and loops all together, and that's just 3 maps with vast differences. You're talking about reworking an entire thing. What maps that don't have a killer shack, maps that do, how much time on average is it each loop, how much time on average each gen, time wasting structures that actually make small maps bigger in a sense because you waste time. That's a very, very you just have to make a new game, or not even that.
Well, I mean, it would be gradual
like
changes over time. This isn't a one-patch thing. It would gradually do it over time. Like you wouldn't even know it was happening unless you laid it out and planned it for 2 years in advance. Like you wouldn't even be able to tell it was happening. And if you would.
I'm not playing this game 15 years from now, Rosie, when that happens.
Well, you know, I hope I won't be either.
I mean, Identity V did that. Like, they made one patch where they buffed all the hunters to be viable in high ranks. Like, there's like few hunters are not viable in the highest ranks, but the most are, and that's a good thing. But what they did is they made hunters way more powerful. They have the power roll 1v1. That's what they have to do in David Badai as well. Give the killers the power roll in chases. So
I mean,
good.
They are, but the issue with that game always is and will always be the fact that the way that they did it was. I mean, the game is fun, and I still continue to advocate that the game is better than Dead by Daylight. But the main problem is that they really took a lazy way to fix the game, and what I kind of mean by that is they just made camping and tunneling meta. I mean, which is fine. The game is still fun to play. The killers are still fun, and they did it. They have a consistent tournament scene, and the killers are doing well. The people that have ranked up and are at Dragon they're doing well, but you can't. I see. I don't know. It's complex, but it's been done. Is the point?
What, Scott? What would you class as a win as a killer?
I made the whole videos about like it's too complicated trying to get every variable that takes into account who actually won the match, which is why in almost in some extents I kind of want to go over how Identity V classifies wins, because correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it's 3 kills is a win and then 3 escapes is a loss.
Win.
Yeah, it's like a kill escape metric.
Okay, so with that kind of system, it's very, very simple. So you don't have to overcomplicate things. You don't have to, because it all just boils down to what was the end result of the match. And I want to actually discuss with you guys the pros and cons to a system like that, because with a system like that, I think it's actually kind of easier to have a somewhat consistent rank system, even if it's not 100% accurate, because it's not an individual thing. It's easier to build off a very simple system. On the flip side, though, you get heavily punished for the actions of your team. Whereas in Dead by Daylight, you can still technically, pip up yourself as a survivor. if you do really well, and even if your team is all terrible, you will still get a personal victory and they will still lose. So I think both sides have good and bad sides, and I wanted to hear what you guys thought about that.
Well, I guess I'll start. The way that see, this is the issue with that you are describing. The way that Identity V handles it is when you do actions in the game as survivor, you earn a point for that for your actions. It's doing a cipher, having a long chase, doing key rescues, stuff like that. You earn points, and then they have what's called a defeat protection, where if you lose a game, you will lose 6 MMR, and you'll lose like 8, and then you'll have a defeat protection, and so you'll only lose like 2 MMR, and then your actions in the game can actually make you go plus. That's how
you keep saying that it has MMR. I found nothing that indicates the game has an MMR system. That's not MMR. That's just flat values for doing objectives and losing. MMR is dynamic based on who you're going against, so it's not the same thing.
Well, I mean, it's a skill-based system. It's skill-based matchmaking. You have to win, lose to get points to rank up, and then it's a different system. It's a very different system, but I think we would need a very different system.
Right, but I'm like, how is that different from Dead by Daylight? It sounds like those are just points to a pip in DBD. Granted, DBD's emblem system is jank as hell, but if it worked, isn't that kind of the same thing?
It's easy because if you
have to
are
earn stars, you have to get like 20 points to earn 1 star. You need 5 stars to get to the next rank, and then it actually keeps going. Like you need 6 or 7 stars to keep going. So like,
how is that
because individual games are worth less? Is the point? Individual games are worth significantly less. So even if you lose, you would have to lose like 15, 16, 17 games in a row for it to have a significant impact on your actual ranking.
Right, but isn't that just what Dead by Daylight does, but expanded to a larger number? That's not an MMR system.
I wouldn't say so.
It does take a while to lose a lot of pips in their emblem system, like unless you just DC and drop 2.
Because you only D-pip one pip at a time, so you'd have to lose like 5 to lose an entire rank number.
Sounds like DVD with extra steps.
Yeah, they're basically the same.
It just sounds like a stretched out DVD system. So you keep saying it has an MMR, but that's not MMR.
No, I would consider it. It's technically skill based.
It's just not though. It doesn't. That's just not what MMR has to be. A dynamic number that changes your values of win and losses dependent on the skill of the people that you're going against, which it sounds like it does not do.
So is that the case?
I still would consider it.
I haven't played Identity V yet. For my sins, I did download it yesterday on my phone, but never got around to playing it. Is that how it works on there? So, just tell me how the matchmaking works. Does it just same as DVD? Puts you up against 4 survivors, and away you go.
No, I mean, there's two kinds. This is how they do it. There's two kinds. There's quick and then there's ranked. Quick doesn't factor in anything. It's just it's the Dead by Daylight, get you in as soon as fucking possible. It tries to factor in the rank as much as it can, but the main priority of the system is it gets you in as soon as possible. The rank is what that's when you'll sit in queue for a little bit longer. I mean, I've never had it go over 5 minutes, but I see, like, it factors in your wins and losses much more. And I don't know, like they even define it as not that it's MMR, but like it's more skill based than experience. You have to actually win to actually rank up. Like in Dead by Daylight, you don't even have to win to rank up. You have to win in the game to rank up. That's why I think it's
well, again, we're circling back to what is a win in DBD. That's...
Yeah.
But I think it's like how is 2 kills and how is 3 kills not a win? Like I've never understood this.
I mean,
how is
in
3
my
kills
opinion,
not a win?
Insidious Bubba. Basement, 3 kills. I won the game. No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I mean, in my opinion, as long as you're getting anything like safety pip higher, then you've won because at least you're not D-pipping.
I put a game up today, and I called it hooks versus kills because I've said it before. The way I play the game is pretty much how True Talent was trying to push and say we should be focusing on hooks. So even though I got 4 kills, I didn't really class it as a win, and technically I got Brutal Killer, which I safety pipped, but I still got the 4K. So for me, I still go off the emblem system as much as it's busted and not not ideal. That's what I class as a win. So even with 4Ks, I didn't class that as a win because I didn't pip up at all. It was just I done what I had to do. What's everyone else again? I know we've sorry, go on, Scott.
No, please ask everyone else. That's
I was going to
totally
say I know we've mentioned it before. What's everyone? Just a quick answer. What do you class as a win beater?
Oh god, I was looking up Identity V matchmaking. I posted like a text of it and how it works for a second because I was actually kind of curious. When it's I hate this, I really do. It's a combination of things you can and can't control laid out in front of you that are determined by the moral that you feel and your feelings and internal conflicts that you suffer throughout the match. That's a win. Take it how you want.
That's deep, dude.
Jesus.
I don't know. I mean,
It was quite a long yes or no.
How do we
answer.
assign a matchmaking rating to that?
I don't know. Like 3 kills, I guess, but like that's. I feel like
3
comes down to
kills.
balancing. It comes down to the team that you play against. Like I played I had that clown game I played where we were all rank 1 and all 4 escaped and I safety pipped. They all safety pipped. I had like 11 or not 11 hooks. What is it? What's the 8 hooks or whatever? Everybody on death hook. I ate like 3 DSs. Somehow still stayed at rank 1 and they all escaped. And I kind of felt like that was a win because I was playing clown and it was like on fractured cowshed and it was against an object. So like if we base it on feelings, I don't know. Like, I just don't know what to base it on anymore.
I mean, a similar situation that happened to me when I went against Ott. I had a terrible map and didn't get any kills, but I got like 6 hooks and still safetied, and everyone got out. And that for me was a win because at least I didn't D-pip, you know.
Yeah, Cptsalty, what is classed as a win?
No, I don't give a shit about hooks. Like if I don't kill them, I'm
So
simple as that.
4 kills, a win.
Like a six hook game without a kill is still a loss for me. Like even if it's against odd Starvers survival threats. Like first of all, 5th is broken, and second is like I couldn't kill them because that's my fault.
Okay, Rosie, have I already asked you, Nio? Rosie, Nio.
I still think it's kills, bro. I mean, the role is called killer, and the survivors are called survivors. Like no one's called pippers, no one's called de-pippers. Like that's
The hookers.
It's just not how it works, bro. But like, if when you look at a system like this, you have to ask yourself what considering what a win is going to move the game in the best possible direction. If you consider the kills to be wins. The 3+ kills to be wins. You can go look at Insidious Bubba. He just cheesed the system. Maybe we should rework Insidious. Like the thing is telling, like the system is telling you to do something based off of everyone's first thoughts about why a system wouldn't work they're usually the things that have needed changed for the longest time. Like Iridescent Head Huntress. Get rid of it! What's it still doing here? What's Insidious Bubba still doing here?
I think the Huntress is in the
Almo
pipeline,
thinks it's
isn't
neat,
it?
right?
Yeah, Huntress's add-ons are on the chopping block apparently.
Yeah, it's going away. But like, you understand what I mean? Like saying that, well, look, Insidious Bubba D-pip, so it doesn't. He didn't win, so why did he even do it? People are still gonna do it anyway. Just get rid of it.
Okay, here's my thing when it comes to it though. I'm usually of the mindset of 3 kills and a hatch. If usually 3 kills and a hatch is usually what I would consider a win. But there's also the side of it when they cheese the system and stuff. It's like I said, it goes back to a lot more of the personal thing. Like I could say if I Insidious basement as Bubba, do I consider it as a win? Yeah, even if I don't pip, because I'm having fun and I'm just enjoying what I'm doing. It doesn't really and when it comes to, you can have the mindset of killing. You have to. I'm fucking missing my words. you can have the mindset of, having to get kills to be the win. And like you guys were saying earlier, there's also, the hook sides of things where, getting a bunch of hooks you may consider as a win. But let's be honest, if you're getting a bunch of hooks and like the game's actually good like that, most of the time you're generally just having fun. And the thing is, a lot of people don't really see something, or not a lot of people don't really explain that you can generally lose a game and still have fun. So what I consider as a loss is what I consider a loss is if to escape. But if I'm still having fun, do I really care that I lost?
Yeah. No, it's fine, but you're just like sort of giving us the figure in your head. So 2 escapes equals a loss. Just want to quickly go to the messages, guys. So Reaper Tech, you've said something that I said, I think, last week, the week before. Whole argument of kills versus hooks. Should the devs be telling us what a win is? Scott, do you think the devs should be telling us what a win is? Because we've discussed this before.
Yeah, honestly, I do. I think they should just define a clear win condition so we can have a basis of even what the matchmaking is even rewarding you based off of. I think that would be very nice.
Yeah. So if they do that,
the argument.
That's it. Argument done. This is a win. This is a loss. Off you go. Official J-Man mentioned something about using the old MMR system Smite had. Has anyone got any experience of Smite? I haven't personally.
No, don't do it. No, it is. Don't ever do it. It's the worst thing. I have almost over 2,000 hours in that game. That's what I was playing before Dead by Daylight. Their MMR thing. But the one thing I will say they do good though is they don't actually balance around the top percent of people in general in that game, because the best gods that you see played at Smite Worlds, like the top bans and stuff, never get banned unless players are in the top platinum or whatever, or grandmaster or whatever it's called. So I just feel like no, I don't like their system, because the way they balance it is if my stuff is really high, whatever, I'll get matched. I've gotten so many times where I've gotten matched with other people that are incredibly low just to balance how high my elo or whatever it is, because they do two different things when it comes to the matchmaking. One's your elo and then MMR thing or whatever. And it's very annoying because I do get matched when I play with my old group. When we play 2 or 3, I do get matched with people that have been playing Smite for maybe 10 days, and it's literally in a way that kind of already like how DBD is in some facets, and ranked has a very what's it called? You can have someone who is in Platinum 5 on while you're a Gold 1 or whatever, which is pretty decent discrepancy, and then the other players will just be less to balance it out. So it's not even really a functional system, in my opinion, that works too well in rank.
No, that's fair enough. Jacob Halifax, you like the idea where Eerie Head could be changed to where the survivor has to be a certain distance away to insta down. Yeah, makes sense. Eerie Head is just awful altogether. I wouldn't be bothered if I took it off completely, but that's just my opinion. All right, so we'll move on to the last topic that I had wrote down, and that was about the 50 win streaks. Now, this obviously brought a debate with True and Ott in regards to hooks versus kills, things like that. Rosie, you were obviously mentioned in the video as well. So, what's your thoughts, Scott, on the 50 win streaks?
I think it is mostly the fault of the viewers, of the people that watch them, for imprinting their own meaning behind what they're doing. I think it's just the people making content. I don't think they're trying to make a grand statement. I think it's just it's the viewers' fault for saying and balancing, or making balancing philosophies based on those things. So I don't think it's the fault of the people that do them whatsoever.
It's just a fun challenge at the end of the day. I mean, Ott practically went insane over doing this clown one because it took him so many attempts. I don't think he was out to say clown's good, because judging by the amount of attempts it took, he's clearly not good.
Oh, of course not. Anyone that does these streaks, they never claim that that the thing that they're doing, it's just so easy to do all these things. No one is making a grand statement about the game's balance when they do a win streak like that. They're just making content that their viewers
Yeah,
want
it's
to watch.
just
It's
fun.
literally
It's
that
just
simple.
fun to do.
I think
It's just viewers taking it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
for
I think. I mean, the main point of the discussion was again. Call me naive because I'm still going back to stats again, but my thought on it was, is it sending the wrong messages to the developers? Now, I totally hear what you're saying there, Scott, because at the end of the day, like you said, it's content. They're producing the content. People are enjoying them. People are watching them. I've watched them, so I'm not saying it's something that I don't want to see, but does it send the wrong message to the developers? But I think we've probably answered the question that even if it does, they're not going to do anything about it anyway. So, but is that sort of, did I look and to see someone like Ots who's, got, a lot of viewers and go, or Dowsey, for example, with the twins, well, the twins are good. We've done a great job on this. When in reality, I don't think the twins are a good killer. But
They are good, but
I don't think the words twins and great job should be put in the same sentence.
yeah, but I mean, obviously,
I
Captain
think, the, I
Salty,
think
you
the
just
twins are underrated. Based, like I've said before, they're underrated in the sense of like their really like boring play style is really insanely strong in the good hands.
It's like Hag. I think
a
Hag
fun
is
killer.
actually pretty
Yeah.
good, but you have to play in a certain way that's just
Yeah.
super anti-fun.
Yeah.
Rosie, Reaper Tech's asking you a question. Ot made a video with 100 wins for Plague. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, it's the same thing, bro. Well, I still, again, I was super poorly represented. But the entire point I was making was it still was always about the matchmaking for me. It's always about the matchmaking, and just the fact that you can run in there and get 50 in a row it's the matchmaking. Like it's all the proof is in the pudding on the
But
matchmaking. But the
that's-
word streak, like he uses the word streak. Okay, the word streak has a inherent meaning. Like we say, it's a misinterpreted position, which it was. I still continue to believe that, but he still uses the word streak. And when you look at the word streak throughout history, the word streak is inherently impressive because of the competition that you're going against. If someone gets an undefeated streak, or if someone goes, I don't know, what is it, NFL 16-0? If a team goes 16-0 in the NFL, it's impressive because of their competition, not because they went 16-0. Like it's because of it's inherently around their competition. And here's a wrestling one for you, Betanurse. I know you like wrestling. I like wrestling.
Undertaker?
When Undertaker did his
Old school
undefeated
wrestling,
streaks
baby.
at WrestleMania, they didn't feed him jobbers, right? Like they didn't feed him Heath Slater. They gave him Batista. They gave him Shawn Michaels. They gave him Triple H. They didn't give him a bunch of nobodies. They gave him people that actually matter because it makes the streak mean something. If you are playing a bunch of nobodies, it doesn't mean anything.
But here's the thing, though. I feel like the fact is it's Ots Darva, someone that is godly good at this game, arguably, top 5 in the game. Just like in the NFL, your best players are going to outperform everybody regardless of competition just based on their skill set. So, like, even if it's bad competition, good competition, like what we've talked about with balancing is getting rid of RNG. Like, if we get rid of RNG, that would pretty much also mean Ots is still going to be the best, just probably even better because the RNG isn't going to hinder his progress. Like, I feel like those streaks are valid in the sense of how good that player is, because I truly don't think there's a killer that I can go 50 streak wins against with 3-man with Hatch or whatever, with Jen still up or whatever. Like, I generally don't think I can do that. Sure, some people can do it, but I think literally, like, if the people that are doing it are the people that are at the top of the game in the sense of what we consider the best players, and just like in the NFL or anything else, the best are going to stay regardless of competition. Even when the Patriots went 16-0, they played in the AFC East with one of the weakest schedules that year anyway, and still lost to the Giants. So it's like, at the same time, it's just, you expect the best to be the best regardless. And I don't think it's like, I still think the streak's pretty damn impressive. He doesn't like say all of them are 50 wins. He stopped it, like, he lost like 37 with someone, I forget. But I think it's like, you should expect. It doesn't matter the level of competition because it's odds. Because I feel like you should like I expect odds to win every game he plays. It's just odds. Like the hours that I've watched him play Dark Souls, I've seen his thinking. Like the dude's a fucking computer. Like he should win. It's like playing the chess master on like the highest level no human can beat. Like it's
And
just
speaking
I feel
of
like
chess,
that should happen.
Well, I mean, I would agree with that, but the problem is that in the True and Otts debate, Otts acknowledged that he couldn't beat 5 teams in a row if they were all actually on his level, indicating an inherent core problem in the game. So, like, that's him even acknowledging that if his competition was on his
that's
level,
not
he
Otts
wouldn't be
though.
able to do it. He wouldn't be able to do it if his competition was on his level. And he even admitted that. If MMR goes in and starts working, there will be no more of those. And that's his own admission at this point.
Well, yeah,
But-
because by the time he's on his second win streak, he's like 2 hours into a stream because of his queue times. It's just not. That's why.
Well, that's not what he meant.
I know it's not what he meant.
That's
but it
not
just
fair to
comes
say. That's
down
not
to
what he meant.
Have you, Scott? Have you considered doing streaks at all? Have you done streaks before? Or well,
I did
better
one
rephrase
joke one
that.
like 3 years ago
Yeah.
with Speed Limiter and Leatherface. That's it.
Yeah.
Hey,
and-
I saw that 15-win blight streak, bruh.
That was just a video. Like I didn't even like. I didn't even advertise it as like a.
Saw
Scott
that,
is
bro.
the calmest like DBD player when it comes to this game. I feel like now.
I'm just fucking old, dude. But like, it's. I think like let's play devil's advocate. Let's assume that Otts is actually trying to make a grand statement, and he's trying to say, "Look how amazing I am." Even though this is definitely not what he's doing. Well, let's just pretend that he is doing that. So, Rosie, you would agree that probably for everyone that's not Nurse or Spirit, that for the most part at the very top level, it's mostly up to the survivors making mistakes, right?
Well, yeah.
Okay. So, would you say that the killer's ability to capitalize on a mistake is a killer skill that you can learn?
Depending on the mistake that it is. If it's a really, really bad mistake, it doesn't take a top-level killer to punish it. If it's a really... It depends on the mistake. We'd have to watch the actual mistake happen.
But you're entertaining the possibility that it could, a poor decision to go to a gen or try to pick somebody up. Just like little tiny things like that. There are things that, survivors will make mistakes and the killers can capitalize on them. And even if it's, minor, that is something that separates, very good killers from bad killers, the ability to capitalize on the mistakes, right?
I mean, it's still depending on... Like, if somebody runs out and does a bad heal against Bubba, that's, like... I don't think it takes Otts to do a chainsaw there. It's the mistake in question that we'd have to, like... Give me an example of a mistake you're talking about.
I'm talking like a strategic mistake. Maybe they try to stay on a gen too long because they see the killer is kind of proxying nearby, but they overjudge the distance that he is, not realizing they could have made a save, then the guy dies instead, or something like that. I don't know. It's hard to make an exact scenario like that.
Well, was the killer even involved with that play? Because if they stay on the gen too long and the guy dies, and we're assuming the killer is not camping, the killer had nothing to do with the play.
But it's based on the killer's position and the survivor's decision to reflect on where the actual killer is. I'm saying it's still a mistake that the survivors could make, and you're arguing that it had no impact, like the killer had no impact on that, right?
Well, I mean,
You're saying-
he hooked. I still. So a guy's on the hook, and
Well, I think we're dancing around hypothetical situations that don't matter.
understand.
Would you just agree, at the very least, that a killer's ability to capitalize on mistakes is a skill?
well,
The answer should be
yeah.
yes.
well,
Come
I
on,
mean,
man.
I mean,
Yeah,
yes. I mean,
yeah.
yes. But the problem is like it depends. Like there are bigger mistakes than others. If there are, that's true.
I'm not
There are
asking
bigger
for specifics, man. I'm just asking. It's a yes or no question.
Well, I mean, I feel like that's an important distinction. I feel like you're trying to trap me into something here. Like
I am
that's
trying to trap
still-
you into something.
Well,
and
it's
I'm
an important distinction to note that each mistake is its own mistake, and it depends on what the mistake actually is. If the mistake is super low brain, then anybody can punish it, and you'd have to go watch. We'd have to go watch any video, streak video, on a case-by-case basis to figure out the mistakes. You see, you're trying to trap me into something. I'm not going to grant you that point.
Okay, here you go. The worst killer in the game doesn't have the skill to capitalize on that healing situation, right? So at the very least, there is skill to capitalize and to say, hey, they're healing rather than M1. I could probably down 2, right? It's a
Yeah,
basic
we
thing,
don't
and
have to
it's still a
complicate this.
skill. Yeah, it's still a skill. Like
You're basically arguing right now that a rank 20 can, capitalize on a mistake as well as Ox, which is
I think. I mean, I think
otherwise you would answer the question yes. Like you're just trying to just put
At the
little
end of
things
the
in there.
day, the answer depends on whether or not the survivor's got an E button on their keyboard. Let's be serious.
Well, it really depends on the mistake, and not every killer can punish. Like, okay, I'm not trying to make a claim that a rank 20 can punish any mistake. I'm not. What I'm trying to talk about is a killer like Jayalo, a killer like myself, a killer like Thasner in the comment section, a killer that, we're not as well known, but like we've been red ranked this whole time too. Like I think a large majority of us can punish those mistakes you're talking about.
Great.
Rosie, you're bringing Dance with Me to this conversation, and that Perk is not involved here, sir. We need you to answer the question.
Well, why? Like, I don't understand how.
All right, here. I will
ask.
tell you my endpoint, but before you have to answer it. The endpoint is that if Otz is able to do that, if he's able to capitalize on mistakes better than other people, even if it's just a little bit, it indicates that he is possibly able to do these streaks because he's a little better at doing that. So there's a skill component involved, and it's not meaningless entirely. That's it. That's all I'm trying to say.
Well, I mean, I just don't think
Rosie.
it takes a serious amount.
Please
of skill.
drop it. Please drop it.
If somebody is at a dead zone and you have nurses calling, it doesn't take Otz to do that. It just doesn't.
That's true.
Yeah, let me mention.
It doesn't take Otz to do that.
Yeah, let me just put an example out there. I think we spoke about it at the very, very beginning about skill. And like I said, so if I am learning to drive a car, I'm doing things consciously. I am looking out for everything around me, I'm conscious of what's going on. After I've been driving for a long time, I'll drive somewhere and I'll be like, I can't even remember that journey because I've just done it subconsciously. It's a basics of learning. And that's where I think the difference is when it comes to the hours that the people have put in. So, as I say, we mentioned it right at the beginning about what is skill. When I watched the Otofu video, and he pointed something out, I didn't notice it, and because I haven't got as much hours as what he has. So for me, I've got to consciously, for example, look out for crows moving, whereas he instantly picked up on that on a video and just went, you've missed that, to the killer that he was reviewing the video on. And I think that's a difference. So I think, could I do a 50 win streak? No, I don't think I could. So for me personally, I'm not. And I know, Cptsalty, you said at one point before that I'm discrediting the streamers who do it. And I said I'm not discrediting them. However, because the matchmaking isn't ideal, and call me a bit of a sadist, but I like watching the games where they struggle. True Talent puts a video, says top percent, whether they are or not, I will go and watch that video more than I'll watch him say, I done a great dead ad, or I got chased for 7 minutes. That was one of his latest videos. I'm not really interested in that. What I'm interested in is seeing him struggle to see how I can get better. And I mean, I think someone else mentioned it was in the chat to say we watch the streamers, we watch the content creators, we watch, to learn how to do things. And that's what I want to see. I want to see them performing. Now, talking about Otz's video the other day, Cptsalty, you sent me it, the 50 win streak on the clown. And you said, watch the last game on the Red Forest. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but go watch it. And he showed great skill to actually win that game. And you can see that by his reaction. You can see his reaction. He's like, fuck you, basically, for all the people that are on about the 50. In fact, I think he was talking about you, Rosie. No, I'm only kidding, Rosie. But he was saying all the people that are saying that. And I thought that is a game that highlights that, yes, there's obviously an element of skill there, but I'd like to see more of those happening, just for my own pleasure, just for me watching it and seeing things like that. But so I think I see what Scott's saying, and yeah, there's certainly things that they'll do on the games that I won't do. Maybe Neo, Skinny, Beta, we might not do that, being not around as much. Scott, you've been around quite a while. You've probably know all these things and do them subconsciously. So there is the element of skill there, but
Here's what I want to get into about it is, and this is the best example that I can think of that factors in everything. So I'm a BJJ practitioner. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and stuff like that, and I've seen what it comes down to is the fundamentals, which is a skill to maintain while you're also learning new things. So even though something can be the smallest mistake that even a white or a blue belt can do, I have seen attorneys, a black belt, capitalize on something so fundamental that a blue belt or anyone else lower would know how to do, something that they've learned over 15 years of experience plus. That little fundamental thing, it adds to momentum. And in the best thing about it is it's a sport where there's a counter to every counter, just like in DBD. Whether you're baiting a window, whether you're taking an angle, I feel like it's inherently, even at the smallest level mistake in like BJJ, that's where even the smallest mistake, capitalizing on it and remembering the fundamental, while also having your own play style, because we all play differently, and factoring in all like the time management, I think it is a skill to consciously be able to capitalize on even the smallest mistake. In my opinion, that's just how I feel about
I
it.
definitely agree.
Yep.
As much as people say that they probably could, I don't think everyone can do a 50 win streak with clowns, even with bad matchmaking, and half the teams are just terrible. I don't think, because even terrible teams can beat a clown. Like, we know it's really not that hard for survivors to just sit on gens, and if you get, one bad chase, that's it. So to have 50 in a row with clown, with especially no add-ons too, no bleach, none of that stuff, it is not something that everyone can do, and therefore it should be something that, you don't have to, but it is an impressive thing, just regardless of what you think about it. It is.
Okay, but there's a slight inconsistency there, because you said it doesn't take a good team to beat the clown.
Sure.
So it doesn't take a good team to beat the clown. So what can we expect taking it full circle back to MMR, what percentage of teams of the top blank percent of teams, what percent of teams beat clown?
It
Every
doesn't
time.
matter, because the clown won't be going against them, because their MMR won't be able to go high enough.
Well, yeah, but it'll cap off somewhere.
Right.
So where's clown's MMR cap off? That would be the question.
Surely you can't
If-
announce a specific value to something like that until we know exactly how MMR is calculated.
Yeah, but like my point is, it's not 1%, which means indicating that the balance is a problem other than at the top 1%, which is what I've been saying this entire time.
But no one
But you
disagrees with
also
that.
argued that you wanted it balanced around the top percent too, though, in one of your videos that you did too.
Well, yeah, we definitely need it balanced around the higher percentages. I don't know if one is the way to go. We'd have to see what the MMR system produces. But the problem is we have an admission that it doesn't take a tournament team, quote unquote, to beat clown. What do you mean
we have an admission? Everybody knows that, dude.
Well,
super common knowledge.
But like you would be very, very surprised if you were in social media groups for this game. I very much promise you would be very, very surprised at the general lack of common sense that everybody seems to possess down there. It's a cesspool, but that's why I get extremely upset at the fact because people love to use you guys. Okay, people love to use you, and you don't see it as much as
I
I
absolutely see it. I see
People
people parroting my
love
opinions
to
all the time, and
use you.
it's annoying. I get it, man.
They use you, and I mean it's not even your fault, but they use you to such an extreme degree. That's why I love your rework series, bruh. Please keep doing it. Please.
All right. But I think you confuse me so much, man, because on the one hand you shit on the devs so much, which they frankly deserve a lot of the time, but then you also have such an idealistic view where you think they're going to do all these wonderful changes, and so the system, the MMR system, is going to be okay because they're going to make these changes. You hate them and yet trust them immensely. It makes no sense to me.
I don't trust them at all.
Well, then why do you think it's a good idea?
Because it's what we should be doing. If the devs botch it, that's on them.
That's great. That's Fantasyland, though. That's not what's going to happen.
Well,
so why do you think it's a good idea?
Fantasyland. It's what should we be doing? if we are trying to go in the good direction, if they botch it, I'll get off their back. It's like, yeah, we'll say, lol, they botched it. It's funny, like we did with the first time. Like, lol, they botched it. They botched it, and they'll probably botch it again because we don't know what they're even doing. You said that before. We don't know what they're even doing. We don't know how they're analyzing literally anything. It's sketchy, and yeah, it's probably going to fail because we are not. I wish that they would actually tell us something. They completely dodged that question in the Q&A, and they didn't tell us jack shit. But I would rather them be communicating on what they're trying to do, and then it fails, and then to just see nothing happening.
So can I ask, why don't you enjoy the game as it is right now? Like, what's your issues with the game like right now?
One of my issues with the game right now, because
Yeah,
we were talking about those games really, the ones that we remember a lot more. It's
a negative outweighs the gains of one positive by like 2. That's usually the theory.
The reason that they sting, it's not that they even stink. It's like, I mean, like I said last week, I'm laughing when those games happen. But I sit here playing rank 17s, rank 15s, rank 10s. It's almost insulting to me, and I feel like the game is babying. I said red rank. Like, I'm rank 17s consistently, rank 15s, it's a joke, and I don't like bullying those people. I just want to get it over with as fast as I can, and maybe next game will be somebody good. Like, you want, and again, the amount of satisfaction, and I guess the word fun would be better for this conversation, is completely determined on my ability to defeat good opposition. If I'm just, it's like throwing ants with a magnifying glass. I don't find that fun.
Okay, I mean, no one disagrees that you shouldn't be going against rank 17s. Everyone thinks that, man. That's not like a...
Well, yeah,
then your low MMR
that's
is
in the
going to
game
give
right
you those rank 17s if you decide to play anything more other
Yeah,
than
that's
your,
actually
like,
true.
top
If you
3
switch to a
killer.
different killer, you actually are going to go against that.
So you're
That was
just
the
going to be
argument I was
bullying
making.
again.
Hold on. What's going on? One at a time. Switch to a different killer, and then, because like I don't main a killer, I play everybody, except for Nurse.
The point is, if you
Playing
pick your least played
everybody,
killer, you're
though?
going to go against, the rank
Yeah.
17 equivalents. That's not going to change.
If you're like a blight man, for example, and you've got high blight MMR, but then you like switch off to trapper for a few games to get better, you're still like a Summit 1,000-hour killer on trapper. You just have less experience with trapper.
Well, yeah, we
Then your
talked
Q
about that
time is
last
going to be
week.
higher on your best killer, and then you're going to want to play other killers, and then that's just going to match you against the 17. It's a vicious circle. It's just going to be, you get too good, you wait too long, you get bored, you hate the game.
My
you
whole
play a
point is,
killer you
that
don't
I
play.
don't think this will improve
Then-
anything, and it's only going to have a negative effect on certain people. So what the
At least
hell
now
is the point?
fun stuff happens with like bad
Yeah.
teams, you know?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't feel like I have to like tunnel anybody. Everybody.
Yeah, I think
It's just
chill.
bad game design to punish people who are doing well at the game.
Exactly.
Who are doing,
Yeah,
who
for
are
sure.
playing well.
I
But
think
it shouldn't be a punishment to rank up. It shouldn't be a punishment to be doing well. That indicates a core problem with your game itself.
We know there's a
punish-
core
the
problem with the game,
punishment-
though, dude. The balance is
But the
awful. We
punishment
know.
is the queue time. The punishment is the queue time, though. For
Well,
example,
again,
that's
my
been one of the
queues
punishments.
last night were 10, 11 seconds. You know, I'm willing to wait 2 minutes for
Same.
an actual good match. I never get to experience the horrendous queue time because when I
Well,
play Survivor, it's usually during the day, and the queue times are significantly better during the
Well,
day than they are at night. But my killer queue times are 7 seconds. I don't want to get dropped in an unfair match with 7 seconds. I'll wait 2 minutes to find some red ranks. Thank you very much.
Well,
Okay,
yeah,
but
but
the reality is it isn't 2 minutes. It isn't 2 minutes. Like I said, when they put MMR in, I was waiting up to 40 minutes. Just for
Well, I think that'll flesh itself out as people keep getting up. I think that's
Yeah, but
problem
people
will
won't
be
keep getting up
addressed
if the queue
eventually.
times are diabolical at the start because people
can't
have
play to
awful
begin
queue
with, even
times.
affect their
Yeah,
rating.
they won't bother to get their MMR higher because they'll barely get through 2 games.
That's
Well,
why I think
introduce
it's so...
it gradually. They don't turn it off a little bit slower, and then just as your MMR goes up, and then as people catch up, and they're like, you can introduce the system gradually so the queue times aren't a problem. I don't really know. Like the queue time
What?
aspect is admittedly the aspect that I've thought the least about, because it's one of them issues that I don't know much about, so I just don't really want to comment on it that much.
Well, this is why I said you should do a casual and a ranked queue because that way then you're not forced into MMR and then the queue times won't be awful because you can just switch to different game modes. You know, if you want a fun random game, go hop in casual. I'm sure the queue times will be really quick. If you want to sweaty competitive game, go hop in ranked. It might take slightly longer, but you're literally queuing for a more competitive experience.
My problem with that is just for like it's not gonna stop like sweaty like competitive players going into quick games and stuff. So what's the point of
just
even
lower
going
the
into the
top
quick
1%
games?
pool.
Yeah, I think that could work if there was a great incentive for the ranked players to go in the ranked
Yeah,
match, but
it needs.
there
Yeah.
is none.
I think
So again, we're talking about hypothetical, wonderful things that we hope they would do, but that's not the reality of what the game currently is.
I think Auric cells are the perfect solution there. Just rank.
Nah, they won't do that. They want their money. They want
I
their
know.
money. Iridescent shards, maybe, but not cells.
I think we'll probably have to stop the talk about MMR now, because I think Rosie, I think you've got a great point about the community, because when you go and look at the forums, it is entirely split. You've got a lot of people that are all for MMR. You've got a lot of people that aren't. I think it's just going to be one of them things that we'll probably all have to agree to disagree on, I think. Right, just to go to a couple of questions, guys. Tat, who he's normally on the podcast himself, but he's saying he hasn't been feeling great recently, but he asked, what is the most unhealthy perk in your opinion? He hasn't specified killer or survivor.
Prove thyself.
I actually think Proof Thyself is underrated, and I'm glad I don't see it very much, but let me think about that.
I don't necessarily think there's a single perk.
Sorry, guys.
I don't
there's
think
two
there's a
people.
single perk that's necessarily. I don't think it's a single perk that's necessarily bad for the game. It's a combination, in my opinion, that for example, like one perk can be fine on its own, and just having that single perk. But when you combine it with, say, I don't know, deliverance on its own isn't bad. But then you pair deliverance with DS. And then it's something completely different. So I wouldn't say it's
solo versus comms.
Yeah, I wouldn't say there's a specific perk that is bad for the game, but it's just the effect or the butterfly effect of what happens when you combine different perks together is when the negatives really start to be shown.
It's easy.
Yeah.
All second chance perks for survivors are bullshit, because why giving survivors second chances, punishing killers from doing well? Like, what the fuck? Oh, the design of second chances is stupid. Like, serious. Like why punishing a killer for playing efficient by giving a survivor a chance? Why should you ever hook a survivor as long as they have DS? I don't understand how they thought that was a good idea to bring a perk that can literally stun the killer for whatever reason in the game. Like, I don't understand.
Fine with those. Pretty fine with those. My one perk, the only perk that I ever think that could ever possibly be a problem if most of the players, or even if more than like 10% players knew how to use it efficiently, and that's dead hard.
Exactly.
I genuinely,
Yeah, same.
Yeah, like I saw the clip of Tofu, like where even he was like in the right hands, like it's almost like another health state, because you get that whole extra lunge into a pallet, and then bloodlust resets if you get the stun, and you just get to go to another tile. But that's I don't know, maybe do something with the
thing with Dead Hard is it has absolutely no counterplay, because like you could wait for them to use it, yeah, but if they use it for distance, they get what they want and you get nothing. Like,
right?
How is that
Well,
fair?
Sometimes time it at the pallets where it's like oh, you have Dead Hard and you wait, and then you swing near the end of the animation where they can't drop the pallet, but that involves being so close to them. Like,
It's inconsistent too, depending on like.
Yeah.
I actually hate Sprint Burst more than Dead Hard if a
Same.
team uses it efficiently. I think Force Sprint Burst is the strongest thing that they can bring. By far.
Force is the best exhaustion perk. Dead Hard's probably just the most problematic.
Yeah, I think if a very good team has Force Sprint Burst and they know how to use it correctly, there are no dead zones anymore. Every area is now safe, which is unbelievably strong. So I actually hate Sprint Burst more.
The problem with Sprint Burst is also that it's just on gen jockeys most of the time, so you pressure the gen and then woo, they're gone.
Yep.
You know?
Yep, exactly.
That's if
Well,
the combination
thing with
with
that
two
is,
boxes and stuff like that.
It depends on the killer as well, because if I'm a Legion and I see somebody sprint burst, I go, woo, no dead hard, beautiful. But it kind of just depends on the killer, because if you're Leatherface or Hillbilly, you hate sprint burst more. It's a killer dependent thing. But like, I think we definitely have an understanding that it's definitely the exhaustion burst for some way, shape, or form. Which, I mean, if the objective was slow enough to justify their existence, it would be okay. But as it stands now, the objective just goes too fast, and so that the ability to keep that first down from happening is just the most important part of the game.
How do y'all feel about smash hit?
Not dead hard burst. I don't care.
Drop it.
That's good for people that hate Spirit Fury
and
Enduring, but other than that, the other exhaustion perks I think is still better. Better.
That's fair.
I'm just gonna go
the other ones.
The problem with perks like Dead Hard and stuff like that are that 1v1 is way too powerful for survivors, and that should not be the case. Because 1v1 is getting the chases is the only objective that have to do chases are killers. Why should survivors have anything to deny you the down? Which is like that's why I think they need to nerf a tile so that good survivors still can get much time out of the chase, but the killer will eventually get you anyway, because denying an entire fucking objective from a killer just because of the usage in a perk in the right moment is just fucking stupid. Like, why do you have survivors so much counterplay in 1v1? Why is that a thing?
It's a thing because the devs balance around fun, not whether or not it's balanced. And using Dead Hard to, get to a pallet is fun for survivors. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm just saying that's why it's like that.
Yeah.
And that they have to completely think about, like, this game is not 1v1, it's 1v4. And they have to make 1v1 either in the power of the killer, so they have the advantage in chases, so they can basically cut the chase time in half anyway, and it just depends on, does the survivor know how to rule perfectly? Does he know how to chain weaker tiles together, so he gets maybe a 40-second chase, but he will still get downed? But bad survivors that don't know how to chain tiles yet, they will get down even like as fast as possible, like it's right now. Nothing will change just because you have more control over your chase, over your objective as a killer, if they just do that.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. So, quite a few perks there. I have to agree. I mean, obviously, it's got to be an exhaustion perk, but prove thyself. At this moment, I find the gens just fly. Maybe it's down to my play, but yeah, so something I just find completely overpowered at the moment. Just going back to the chat, guys. Reaper Tech. It's not fantasy, it's hope for a better game. It's like you don't think we want this game to be better. That's been backed up by a few people. Thing is, Rosie's trying to come up with solutions with things that you guys clearly know about. It's trying to find instead of keep playing with the garbage game. People are agreeing. No offense, but Rosie's come up with logical solutions, but narrow-mindedness is definitely not helping with the game. And this discussion. Ooh, cutting Reaper Tech. However, I just want to say,
can I answer that?
You can, yeah.
Okay, so it's not that. Most of us have been here have had our complaints and changes we've wanted to the game for 2 years or so more.
I've just stopped trying.
Not only not been fulfilled, and at this point, it's also a matter of, as a business student, it's a business. And 2 years ago, when they got that first investment in their from that Chinese company, that's when they started the first announcement that they were going to do a whole like battle pass style thing. And then they got the investment in their mobile game by a similar company. So now there's money locked in. So there's not, keeping the money flowing. Remember when the twins and stuff and all that was happening, and they released that LED reindeer skin, and everybody fucking bought it.
Yeah, including me.
Like that's it's me myself as well. But it's the complacency. Complacency is a business's favorite thing, and it's why companies like EA thrive and things like that, because no one really holds them accountable. And when they do, sometimes it works. But when you have a game that essentially has a monopoly over this type of genre, they can say like what's his face Kote said, go play something else, or in their one Q&A where they said we're lucky to have a job where we basically work when we want to. They can say those things because there's no competition, there's no competitor. You can't go play something else. So they're fully locked into their business model. They have these investments, they have this money that they want to make. They know people are buying cosmetics. They're not going to tell you how many people buy them, but I guarantee you the cosmetic department and the allocation of resources to that department is probably generating them an incredible large amount of money. And I generally believe that majority of the player base does not really care about balancing in the sense that we do over the past few years, and that's evident based on
Definitely.
the fog whisper opinions and stuff like that. That's why we sound so negative towards it and stuff, because the changes just seem so esoteric and just so minimal, and they seem so late. The Wraith changed to make him invisible at a distance, and then they realized, well, maybe that wasn't enough, and then now they're upping his movement speed and cloak, which has been asked for forever. So it's out of touch with the player base, on top of a monopoly. In addition to, it's a business and their investments. They're at this point, they're locked in at making money. They didn't expect the game to last longer than a year, and that's why we're here. So
Yeah, I've seen the Fog Whisperer Discord. I've seen like every single line of the Fog Whisperer Discord because my fiance was one, and yeah, they don't even listen to them. So like, on what planet do you think they're gonna listen to like my idea or Rosie's idea? Like, what is even the point? I know it seems like I'm being nihilistic here, but I'm just being realistic, man. They have no reason to listen to us because what they're doing is working. So why would they care?
Yeah, there's only so long our opinions can fall on deaf ears before we just stop talking.
Yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
I think overall in the community, I don't think there's, you know, I keep seeing more and more videos. I've seen a video a day. I can't remember the name of the guy who it was. But he had about 1,000 subs, a bit like myself, and he was putting his opinions on MMR. And then from that came another recommendation. I'm like, actually, Pete, I don't think people are coming up and shitting on the ideas, because I think most people knows an issue in the game. So when people turn around saying, I've had it said to me, why are you playing this game? You know, you shouldn't be playing this game because you're promoting. When I bought the reindeer outfit, that was the first
Bro,
comment.
I hate you for that,
Yeah,
man. Like,
that was-
you make this game worse with that
You-
decision. You give them money for the shit they do.
You know-
Like, serious. You Betanurse, all the players that buy skins make this shit worse.
You
Because you tell them, oh, you do a good job. Here, take my money. Good job, devs.
As soon as I uploaded the
Hey,
video,
I know.
as soon
That
as I
reindeer skin. On
uploaded
point.
the video, it's Captain
Fucking
Salty straight
shit.
away. My Discord went off. What you doing? Why have you bought that? And then all of a sudden the comments came up, and you know who stuck up for me? Terrico. Terrico put a comment on after going, Jay, if you want to buy an outfit, that's your money, buy it. And I'm like, this is a guy who's been very critical of Dead by Daylight, and he's like, you know, so people always think that everyone's happy with how it is. And I've got a question for you in a second about that, Scott, because someone asked me that today. But excuse me. But yeah, I think the community needs to realise that I think everybody knows there's an issue. Whether you are, and I said it last week, people who play this game and stream it day in, day out. So Scott, I mean, for you, I'm presuming this is Dead by Daylight. Is it your income? I hope you don't mind me saying it, but this is what you do. You do the YouTube videos, you stream. So whether you're happy or not, it's something that you do. And like you said, I didn't know about the Discord until you've obviously come up and said to, you know, just then that, you know, your fiance was a fog whisperer, so you've seen all the messages. So I think there's a lot that goes on that we don't know about, but I don't think everybody is happy. And sometimes the community gets the back up a bit and goes, no, well, you're doing this or you're doing that. And I think sometimes it's a case of you. I mean, as I say, out of all of us, I should imagine, Scott, you probably get the most, and you've probably seen the most of it over the 2 years. But the question I have for you, Scott, are you happy with this game? Nice and simple.
No, I would not say I'm happy with it. I would not say I'm like, you know, up in arms. I'm gonna, you know, go on a crusade to, you know, have them fix everything. But yeah, no, I would say I'm just sort of complacent with it at the moment. The fact that the Trickster seems super meh, and then the Twins for me was super meh.
Yeah.
Really, all it takes for me to be happy is just they release a good killer every 3 months. It's fun to play. Like Blight and stuff like that, I was having a ball. I played a lot. But I have a very low barrier for happiness in this game, and they have, I think, failed twice in a row now. So yeah, I'm pretty just meh about it right now.
Yeah. Not fair enough. It was someone had asked the question and said, do you think Scott is interested in the game still? And I was like, I'll ask him. I'll ask that question. But I don't know if you guys have anything else to add to anything I've said there. As I say, you might think I'm saying the wrong thing. You might be like, actually, Jay, you're an idiot for buying the cosmetic.
Yeah.
Not you, Captain Salty, not you.
Okay, Jay,
Everyone is an idiot for buying cosmetics in a bugged game.
But don't you
Okay,
have
I'm
every killer and survivor unlocked probably that you bought as well?
You know, I'm just sat here looking at it and I'm thinking, I have unlocked them all because I do it for the videos, and I'm thinking, a trickster, it's really, normally I'm like, there's a lot of killers I don't like, as you can see, Deathslinger, you know, but there's a lot of killers I don't like, but I still buy them because I'm like, yeah, I'll make some videos on this. And the trickster, I'm actually contemplating for the first time not buying the chapter. It's just, it's so underwhelming. You know, so
Behavior cackling in the background, you'll buy it, bitch, and you'll like it.
That's exactly what I was doing with twins. Until eventually, I thought, nah.
Yeah,
That's exactly what I did with twins.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, it's a
How many
different.
shards you got? I'm using shards for them. I use them for twins, and I have like over 20,000 at this point.
Yeah,
I
think
haven't
I've got
legitimately
about,
bought content in this
10,000,
game in
yeah.
years.
Yeah, I nearly, this will please Cptsalty, but today I thought I'll have a few games with a trapper, and I'm like, I'm not happy with my default trapper. I might buy one of the new cosmetics.
Can I be honest? Like when you were talking about the LED skin, and because I haven't actually bought that onesie, but just the fact that so many people getting mad at you for it, I wanted to buy the skin just to despite.
Yeah,
The thing is, it's about skins. Like, if you buy chapters or something, that's okay. You buy content that you actually have something on. But why buy skins? Skins don't do anything for the game. They don't have balancing. They don't have anything. Like, that's the thing. If you buy DLCs, I'm okay with that shit. You know, you like Freddy, you buy Freddy because you like to play
How
Freddy.
do you know that reindeer skin gave me +5 crafting in matches? So I know what you're talking about.
Right.
So you're in an uphill battle against the microtransaction industry, which is it's seemingly undefeatable. So it's just that you gotta
buying
accept
you
that.
out.
I got banned from the game because of that. I was said, like, stop giving behavior money for stupid skins that don't fix the game. Like, the Cptsalty is toxic. We have to ban him. Like, seriously.
It's a threat to the business.
I was on the crusade for like 3 years now against behavior.
Well, if you go missing, we'll send a search party out for you. We'll see where they've dug you, where they've put you. Right, last question then, guys. 'Cause I know I'm really conscious, and I do appreciate the time you've given me for this. Last question is from Reapertech, and Sazna has also mentioned onto it. Another question for everyone: do you think this game relies too much on content creators and fog whisperers? And is it unhealthy for the community? And Sazna has went on to say, fog whisperers are the worst thing that has happened to this game. They're only here for the shill for VR and promote content. I mean, Scott, I'm presuming you know fog whisperers, so I'll pass that to you. I mean, obviously, what do you think about that question?
I don't think. I mean, yeah, there are certainly fog whisperers that, you know, I won't name them, but they absolutely shill for the game, and they pretty much hold no negative opinions ever, even when it's very obvious that something is required to have, like, you know, a negative opinion. But all the fog whisperers I know are actually very critical of the game. Like, you know, Drew, Otts, like everyone that I know of, my fiance too was extremely critical of the game. So I don't think that's true at all. I think fog whisperers are equally critical and even more frustrated that they don't get listened to because they're supposed to be some type of ambassador to the game. So yeah, I disagree with that entirely.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts on the matter?
What I think is the really, really harmful thing is the absolute blind loyalty and the will not call out anything no matter what. And this is like, you can see it with the Otts and True community continuing to clash over hooks and kills. Like no one is capable of like analyzing. Like they develop into this kind of hive mind, and it's just something that kind of inherently happens. That's not just Dead by Daylight. That's anything, especially politics. It's this hive mind mentality, and I just think, much like the greater world, if everybody would just think a little bit more and acknowledge the humanity and the mistakes of people and errors in their logic more often, it would be much better.
See, I think that's actually really insulting because you're insinuating that everyone is a sheep. Have you considered that the reverse is true and that people have opinions and then gravitate towards people that share the opinions, and that's why they're part of that community?
Oh, I think that doesn't mean they can never, ever, ever say anything ever again. That it's insulting to somebody's independence to say that they're going to agree with this person every time, no matter what they say. I don't agree with True on hooks.
I don't think.
Because
I think there are very few completely blind fans. I mean, I get disagreed with all the time in my comments. I see people disagreeing with Ots. I think you're overestimating the amount of blind
several
just
times on
drones.
his YouTube shit, just talking shit.
Yeah,
Even trying to
I think
challenge
you're
people 1v1 in the
overestimating
spirit, like,
how zombie people are. Like people do have their own minds, dude. Everyone's not just a dumbass sheep.
not only
People do
that,
think
but
to
this is
themselves.
it's a game based on RNG that like really just shouldn't be competitive, dude. Like even Magic the Gathering as an esport, because I used to play Magic, regrettably admitting that to y'all, I guess, but I
Same.
guess y'all probably did too. But I used to play it so much, and it's like yeah, that's RNG, but at least it's like the big thing is that they worry about stuff being fun for people and whatnot. Like people play this game for fun and content. Even Tofu in his earlier streams and stuff used to like say things that are like busted and stuff. He didn't make like 1,000 videos about it because everyone else kind of just does and whatnot. But even he's like, at this point, like he just is just. You said it before on his like big subathon months ago. Is like he's just lucky to just play a game and have a community. It's not even about Dead by Daylight for him. He just enjoys playing, enjoys doing it, and has fun. And we know the history of the devs. We know they don't listen. We know when they do listen, it's like 3 years later. And like I don't know why we have to hold these people accountable for a game that isn't intentionally competitive and people that just want to enjoy and play the game. I just don't
Because they
see it
create
anymore.
toxicity. Because they create toxicity. In Hexy's chat,
Your
there wa-
response is what creates toxicity to it. It's not them generating it. They're just playing for fun and enjoying it and not making any
through
statements.
talent. So to talent gaslighting every killer that is slugging, camping, and tunneling and saying that's not a killer is not creating toxicity. Because the fans that watch your talent, they go into streams of killers that camp and slug to win and call them bad people and give
I agree.
them
I agree that's unhealthy.
like this shit. And that's causing toxicity. And to talent believes the shit that he says, actually. He believes that he's high MMR killer. He is not! Just watch his dog video on Rancid Abattoir. Like, just look at this shit. He ignores discordance. He goes for chases over actually stopping an important gen, his free gen. He gives up on his free gen without even trying to protect it. And he says, this game is so unbalanced on high MMR. Dude, play on the high MMR level first before you complain about it.
All right,
But
I think
that
we're
whole
going off
team,
topic a little bit.
yeah, I was gonna say that whole
Like-
team did have a combined like over 15K hours or something together though, so that technically probably was in a good MMR. Like, even if
Yeah,
we
but still, he could have played that well better and probably won it this in the end. Because like I said in the beginning, you know when to break
You
chase.
said
when to-
earlier that 2 killers were the only viable. So, like, if we're admitting that it was somewhat high MMR, then Doctor would have been viable.
No, if
Based
you
on what you
play
said at the beginning.
if you play the game for chases, no, only Nurse and Spirit are viable. If you play the game like a control-y stuff and try to play around micromanaging, if you manage to do it correct, you can beat them. Just have to
So that would make Trapper a top viable
implies that
killer
there's more
then.
viability. Yeah, that implies there's more viability. That's not true.
Because Trapper doesn't have to chase; he can just control everything with traps, right? Corrupt intervention. So
I mean, if you can do that, of course. But it
high
depends
MMR.
also.
as a top viable killer next to Nurse and Spirit.
Nah, I don't think. But said like if you depends on the play style. It's like if you like in truth, in how True plays the game. Like of course, Spirit and Nurse are the only playable killers because he's not thinking about what happened around chases. He's just focusing on the chases and he's committing too much to chases. While a Fungus, for example, can't play a Freddy in high MMR because he is more of a controlling killer, which is this example I wanted to say why Fungus will survive in high MMR and True won't because he's not adapting to it. He thinks he can play the game the way he can play against potatoes by just outplaying people in chases. But killer that actually play on sweaty games and like to sweat and have those pretty hard games, they know that they can't play the way like the game's supposed to be played, or they have to make their own thing of how to play the game. Like you have to be more patient. You have to, like I say, it's more of a chess game
So
than
now
than
other
actually
killers can compete at the highest MMR, which we said couldn't happen.
Dude, like you all think about this chasing mentality. Like if you go for this chasing mentality, just having to go through pellet and looping, or of course, Nurse ignores all the loops. If you ignore strong loopers and go for weaker links, and you do that correctly, it can be that more killers are viable. But you have to have a deeper understanding of the issues here in this case. It's like you have one guy that has his personal thing of how he enjoys playing killer. It's one small part of being killer. Like and he says killer is not fun in high rank because I can't play the way I want. And just like just adapt, and then if you still can't do it, then you can say it's a problem. But having a guy that is sugarcoating everything in this game just because it's not his playstyle that is working, but it's like maybe if he adapts to something and he's actually sticking to the free gen, he realizes that maybe if you adapt to something, like it's not like you don't have a chance to win it. It's just so far I said it in high ranks, but it doesn't mean that you don't win it.
What was the original question again?
I don't know.
I don't know. You know, all that was going through my mind there was
methamphetamine or something. I don't know.
thinking about Poor True. He was getting some stick
So,
there, but
yeah.
if it makes, he probably doesn't know about any of this, but I get the same off Cptsalty though. Every time I upload a video, I get a message telling me I was carried by my Perk. I am outplayed by Deadad, so please don't take it to heart, anybody, if he is saying it out by name. Isn't that right, Cptsalty? You know, the amount of times I get a message.
It's a joke.
Damage control. That's damage control right there.
As soon as I've got to have my own Q&A on my video, so I've got to like
Outplayed
render it,
by that,
put it
it's a
on,
joke.
and then I have to watch it again and go, what is Cptsalty going to tell me I've done wrong? So, but yeah. Anyway, guys, as I say, we are digressing a bit now. So, Nio, I'm conscious, did you want to bring one last thing up before we leave, did you say?
Okay, I was going to bring something up, but I'm going to be completely honest. I completely forgot the question.
Yeah? All right.
I have no idea what the question was, so I completely forgot.
Oh,
It's about 4 in the morning where you are, isn't it? Something like that. So
It's 4 a.m.
yeah. Right. All right. Well, I think we'll probably call it a day then. If you do think about a Neo, just put it in the Discord or save it for next week. So thanks a lot, guys, for coming on. Scott, really appreciated your time. It was great speaking to you.
It was a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, it was really good getting your thoughts on that. Beta, Cptsalty, Neo, Rosie, and Skinny, thank you guys for coming on, and thank you to all the chat for all the questions and that. All right, so I'll catch you guys later.